Guys, we have a day 3 fragrance. We are trying to go through the entire line to evaluate the heaviest hitters from this house. And this house isn't playing around, so I expect nothing less than greatness. However, I want to give my due diligence to each fragrance individually to see and unpack what the good and bad is, if any, from each fragrance to help you consider, let me just say this and we'll go to the intro. Not all great fragrances are great fragrances for you. And that's why it's important to break this stuff down, because we know day 3 is an incredible house, but is this fragrance today something that you should put your money towards, and will it speak to you? Let's find out in a quick minute.
Okay, dinner for two. I watch that head move side to side as I let this in into the room. You are on time, let's connect minds. Trying to get into a mood. We gon' be fine. Close up the blinds, no rush. Finish the food.
All right. Welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is my fragrance journey, and I'm just putting a camera to it. Hopefully you guys learned some things along the way. I know I am having a great time investigating fragrances of all levels, from all qualities, all affordabilities. And I've come across day 3. This house, the perfumers are located down the street from me. And so I'm happy to see some kind of local love in these fragrances. And we're walking through the entire line. I got a discovery set. So we're going to fragrance by fragrance walk through and see which stuff speaks to me. And I'll try to unbiasedly describe this fragrance or each fragrance that I go through in a way that's very informative and helpful if you have been considering this fragrance. Again, from the house of day 3, we have Downtown Deja Vu. Let's see if there's any bit of info in the brief description. Downtown Deja Vu is a unisex fragrance that is classified as an oriental floral fragrance for men and women. New fragrance launched in 2023, and I'm not going to read you the notes because I don't like to think about notes when I'm doing an initial impressions. So let's proceed. All right. I will be applying this to skin. I can tell in the air this is a rose-based fragrance. Okay. Yeah, very rosy. Not quite jammy rose, like an amethyst. How is it next to like atomic rose? It's a little more pungent and jammier than like atomic rose from Initio, but it is still soft and almost real. I don't want to say it's synthetic at all, but it definitely feels more, the rose side of this feels more like a glorified body mist, like the best fragrance you can find at Bed Bath or Bath and Body Works. But that's just the rose element. I'm waiting for the dry down to see other elements that I can get out of this. Typically, you don't see rose by itself. So I'm excited to see what's behind that. I love rose fragrances, but so far the rose leans feminine. This is feminine leaning so far. I hope it dries down to something quite special. I almost get like some white florals accompanying it, almost like a bouquet of roses, but a very sweet, slight jammy, but more of a just kind of like pungent, fresh, slightly synthetic rose note. And I'm getting a lot of that right now. So we're actually going to switch to the window because this definitely needs to dry down. What am I hearing? I'm hearing some odd sounds in my office today. Okay. So top notes are red fruits, apple, citruses. Middle notes is rose, iris, and cinnamon. Is this what I'm hearing? Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Okay. And so I'm so sorry. Let's go back through that. Top notes are red fruits, apple, and citrus. Middle notes, rose, iris, and cinnamon. Base notes, we have linen, suede, cotton, candy, amber, and musk. Now, I can tell you off the bat, looking at this, and that's why I do an initial impressions, I was wondering why the rose was so sweet and almost artificial. Now I see that it's not really artificial per se, but it's kind of giving the same vibe because of red fruits and, more importantly, cotton candy. Cotton candy is made with synthetics. So, because of that, that's what you're getting on top of the rose, is kind of a candied, glorified Bath and Body Works type of rose. And then, you put the fruits and the iris. The iris cinnamon combo is quite nice because you don't get like the same powder depth as like Dior Homme Intense, but at least halfway there. And then it kind of veers off into cinnamon. So that's kind of the first time so far in my fragrance journey I've kind of seen cinnamon and iris together in a very distinct way where you can make out both notes in the fragrance. Definitely that's more of 20% of the fragrance. This seems like a 70% rose fragrance, and that's why I wanted to put it on skin, because we're going to need to see if that suede creeps through. I would love for that suede and musk and linen to come forth in the fragrance, because otherwise you just have this sweet basket of fruit and basically candied rose and cinnamon. You get all of that. I think for a feminine, this is definitely like super feminine leaning of a fragrance for me. I don't really know why they categorized it as unisex. I mean, I'm a big fan of rose, but to anyone who's like challenged by rose, men would just run away from this fragrance immediately. This feels like something I'd want to smell on a woman. For men, I don't even think a daring man would really be appropriate for this. Even on dry down, I don't really get a lot of the suede, musk, and linen. Like, I'm still getting, with the exception of the amber pushing forward and the cinnamon dialing back, this is essentially still red fruits, rose, iris, and cotton candy almost exclusively. I mean, I guess apple and citrus just kind of goes with red fruits. Like, you get a sense of a fruit basket vibe behind a very dominantly rose fragrance. Like, the cotton candy and rose really feel like they make up 60 to 70% of this fragrance. And then you get maybe 10-15% of kind of this apple citrus iris combo. And then sitting in the base is like this amber, slight cinnamon tinged type of fragrance. I really wish the suede, linen, and musk were pushed forth in this fragrance more, because I think it would preserve the masculinity of this fragrance. Now, that's opinion, right? Like, these are kind of like cultural, genderal appropriation type philosophies about the fragrance, like what makes a fragrance masculine or feminine, right? There could be men that are drawn to this, but there's nothing reminiscent of manliness that I can rock with this in this fragrance, except for the linen, suede, and musk, and maybe the amber and cinnamon, which are more like unisex in my mind as notes. But the suede and linen and musk are almost non-existent. I think this is a fragrance they kind of opened up to be unisex when truly a woman's hand was in mind and in view with capturing what this fragrance is capturing. I do think that there isn't enough nuance with this fragrance to validate it to me, even from a female's perspective. Like, this is just male's perspective on a woman buying this as a purchase. It just feels a little bit elevated from a Bath and Body Works type of body mist. Like, because they used cotton candy, it still kind of has this synthetic swing to it that has a familiar DNA as a lot of the body mists at Bath and Body Works. Very high quality ingredients though, and that's why I think it's an elevated, glorified body mist in that regard. But the question is, would you drop $150 on this, ladies? And I think the only circumstance that makes sense to me is like a younger woman, like under 25 and under. This is like your teeny bopper, I'm going out with the girls, or maybe you want to get that guy, but you don't want to smell too synthetic. You kind of want to have the best of the best in terms of body mists and like kind of like, you know, your fruity girl style, because it's got the iris and the cinnamon and the cotton candy. So you kind of smell tasty, but super playful. I don't even think this is really upscale casual, but I think that's the highest it could go. I would encourage men to stay away from this fragrance. This isn't truly unisex. I wouldn't even call it feminine leaning. I just think it's a women's fragrance entirely. The suede and linen and musk just simply aren't there, neither on skin nor test strip. So as a women's fragrance now, casual, upscale casual, to me, any season, any reason, but high heat doesn't make a lot of sense for this fragrance to me. I don't think it can go semi-formal and up, but you could make it a nightlife kind of fun go out fragrance, but I see it more as like beach pool party, girls' day out, maybe day party, you know, just a normal get around type of fragrance. You're a girl who doesn't like to smell like heavenly and natural. This is like that typical, you know, like this would be, you know, you're in high school and then you graduate to college and your parents get you this, you know, so you smell a little bit more like an adult. But very playful, very reminiscent of a lot of Bath and Body Works type of vibes. Very high quality, though. The ingredients feel very good. Again, I think that cotton candy note is what's really... Well, there's two things going on with this fragrance, but I think it plays into the femininity of a fragrance like this, but that completely takes it out of masculine is you have this very powerful red fruits and rose combo, and then it's doused in cotton candy. So that already is plenty sweet, right? But then you have a good heap of cinnamon, which comes off sweet as well. It's accentuated by the amber. And then you have a sweeter, slightly powdery iris, and it just kind of produces this creamy jam feel to the rose cotton candy DNA. And that's just like completely out of masculine territory for me. But yeah, and then it, you know, but oddly enough, as a female fragrance, it does dry down and become a little less overkill sweet to me. So that's the only kind of redeeming quality for it not being too synthetic. It actually sits down. But this is going to be a great performer, ladies. You know, it's going to be 8+ hours of performance. Good little 3-4 feet of sillage. Good 2-3 feet of projection on it, at least on my skin. And
we also have more.
There goes some advertising coming in through my screen. But yeah, Downtown Deja Vu. I mean, playful ladies fragrance. Guys, don't touch this, man. I'm telling you. Okay, so as a female fragrance, I think it is an 8 solid just because it's above average. Average would be like your body mist stuff. This sits just a slight tier above that. I don't think it's anything signature. I don't think it's innovative at all, which is part of being signature to some extent. It's quite linear in a lot of ways. You know, it's putting a lot of the same vibe all into a sandwich, you know? But yeah, it's a solid 8. I don't do decimals. And so yeah, I think it's extremely circumstantial, young woman, kind of rite of passage fragrance into being a young adult, but still having like a playful get out fragrance, or like something very like girly and feminine. Or even for some of my older ladies, if you like sweeter, you come from a lot of Bath and Body Works sprays and stuff like that, where you like smelling pretty and sweet and all that stuff, this definitely would be an elevation from that. But and I think it's fairly priced for that, you know, 150-ish bucks. I recommend you just get the whole discovery set to see if there's something else you'd like, and then use your $40 voucher to jump into this fragrance. I think it lists at $155. Again, this is kind of like a cross between Amethyst from Body Al Oud, not nowhere near as thick, but more closer to Atomic Rose from Initio, but even more sweet. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. Sorry, a couple things I left out. You know, I think 4 to 6 sprays is plenty on this. And I do think as long as it's cooler climate under 70, you can go year round. I can't think of any alternatives, but I'm sure there's a Bath and Body Works fragrance that smells very close to something like this. If not, you know, it's basically Atomic Rose, but more synthetic or more. It's Atomic Rose with cotton candy. That's the vibe I get, but scaled down a little bit more as a designer feel. Not a lot of complexity to it. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell so you can stay locked in with all the latest and greatest. Again, this was day 3, Downtown Deja Vu. And, you know, it was a solid 8 utility fragrance for the younger lady, I think, but definitely isn't masculine at all. Unisex, I think it's kind of marketing to get more people to pick up the fragrance. So until next time, hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I do talk back. Have a great night.